with Leon, we're in Reds Bar. Where else could you be for the European preview than here in Reds Bar on Exchange Street? It's got the 6 European Cups.
Quite the backdrop, isn't it?
I know, it's showing off a little bit, sort of, being here. But listen, the bar downstairs is great. They do look after us here and we appreciate it. And it is nice to think, Leon, that we could add to that in May. We've got as good a chance as anyone. I don't know if we are quite the favourites, but we'll be sort of right up there because of how we're playing. But this tie does feel like a tricky one. It was one of the tougher ones we could have got in terms of the last 16. So we've been a bit unfortunate, but we've got to move past that because, well, I'd say they're even more unlucky because they've got to play Liverpool.
I disagree a little bit in that. Like, we sing songs about who you should bring on when it comes to European nights, and PSG aren't even on that list that we start talking about. So I'm happy to have them. I mean, to be fair, it looks like it may be the toughest of the draws out of all of them in terms of who we could have got, but they were crap for the most part of the league phase of this. The first 2 or 3 games, they proper scraped in them, and City proper scraped into it. So, and I just think whenever we've played really well this year, it's been like when it's been a tough one. You think about the Man City game at home, the Real Madrid game at home, them really ones where we were like consummately professional. Man City away again as well. Like when we're asked to step up, that's when the lads seem to have done it. And I fancy us to step up in Paris tomorrow.
Yeah, they've stepped up in the big moments this season, haven't they? And I've been really buoyed by what I've seen also over the last week or so, because it felt like there was maybe a little bit of pressure building in terms of the league campaign. I mean, we saw it in the Carabao Cup as well. First, they lost that game against Anfield. I mean, they make it look easy eventually, and you might say it's only Tottenham, but there was a bit of pressure on them going into that game. But they swept Spurs aside 4-0 and played really, really well. And then even in the league, a couple of draws, Villa, Everton, understandable in isolation, but they were maybe building the draws, and then the wins after that, just absolutely, phenomenal stuff. And that's what they've done this season. It's felt like when the big moments are there and big players need to step up, they have.
I wonder how much of this is the scars that we've got from the City stuff, like Everton, Man United, Fulham. Like, they're not necessarily bad draws, them, especially in some of the circumstances they've happened. Even the Newcastle one, the keeper just had lifted his arms up in the last seconds, then we'd have caught that and we'd have not been in that problem. Everton, Jagielka scores that goal of all goals that he's never going to score again. The United game, you can have that one. I just think maybe we're scarred a little bit, and actually draws aren't the end of the world. And if we get a draw in Paris, then it's not a bad result. In fact, to be fair, anything 3-0 or less to them, we're happy with that, aren't we? When we get back to Anfield,
we've talked about that before. We remember him back to the 90s when we were younger. Maybe not handsomer men. I mean, you still look terrific, but certainly younger guys in the 90s, and that's one that sticks in your head. I mean, we'd had the period out of Europe, hadn't we? And so I think a lot of those in the 90s I remember quite well, because it still felt fairly new to me. And that was one where the Cup Winners' Cup, you thought they had a good chance of getting all the way to the final. It's a semi-final against PSG, and they blow it. I mean, you talk about this team stepping up at the right time. It felt like that team crumbled.
Stepped right down.
And that was another one, that Paris away one. They nearly turned around, to be fair, but left themselves a bit too much to do.
Yeah, it was. I do remember that one, because I think it was very much in the time before TV had all the footy on and stuff like that. So you were scrambling to get the game on, or you're wondering how you're going to get tickets for the match and stuff like that. And it's funny enough, I was having a look before. 4 times is the only times that we played PSG. Twice before in the Champions League, and then the 2 games in the European Cup Winners' Cup. And I was like Googling again and searching again, because I'm sure we must have played them a few more times, but very rarely, which is mad for a big team.
Yeah, they're quite a new club, I think, in a way, aren't they? And that team of the 90s was a good one, and we had a good team sort of in the early 90s. I think Pam was there and stuff like that, but I think that they didn't have a big team in the 70s or anything. It was St Etienne, wasn't it, who came to Anfield in those days and had a really good side, and the ones that the dads like to talk about. But that one a few years ago was a great night at Anfield, wasn't it? They beat us there. It was in the group, so it wasn't an aggregate thing really, but they beat us pretty well away. I think it was 2-1 in the end, but you felt we were well beaten. But then the home game was a cracker and a great atmosphere, and one to remember maybe if we need a result in a week or so.
YouTube Press the button, become a member of the Anfield Wrap from the heart of the city of Liverpool. The best way to enjoy all your Liverpool-based videos, everything you need, every single day. It is the Anfield Wrap.